On the state test, you might be presented with a question where they're giving you an equation that is solved and they're showing you each of the steps, but it's not correct. You're asked to find the mistake and then solve it correctly. So let's go over a few examples. I recommend that you follow these steps on the right. So we're just going to compare one line to the next. So if we look at the first two lines, let's look and see what changed. What did they do? Well, notice in the given step, the original equation, we have some parentheses, but we don't have parentheses in step 1. So we must have distributed. What number did they distribute? Well, I see a minus sign here, but no number, so we assume that it's a 1 or a negative 1. So if we distribute negative 1 to x, we do get negative x, but then they left this as negative 4 or minus 4. Is that correct? No, because you need to distribute the number outside the parentheses to each term inside the parentheses. So negative 1 times negative 4 would be positive 4. So if they ask which step did they make the mistake, you would say step 1. Now let's look at finding the correct solution. Now on the state test, remember you can use the graphing calculator. So an easy way to solve these is to follow the steps here on the left. If you just have an equation with one variable, you want to make sure that variable, that letter, is x. If it's a p or an f or a t, the calculator is not going to recognize what those letters stand for. So change those variables to x. And they're already x in this case. And then you just add a plus y to one side of the equation. And this is what you graph. Now when you graph it, you're going to see something like this. And what we care about is where this line intersects the x-axis. And in this case, it intersects the x-axis at 6, 0. So when y, that variable we added to one side of the equation, when that is 0, x equals 6. So our answer is 6. Let's try another. Again, we're just going to compare one line to the next. When we compare the first line to the second line, notice again the parentheses are gone. Let's see if they distributed correctly this time. 12 times x is 12x. 12 times positive 5 is positive 60. So that's good. Now let's compare the next two lines. What changed here? Well, notice they moved the 4 over to this side. It's not over here anymore. Did they do that correctly? Well, in order to make this 0 on the right side, we would have had to subtract 4x. And that would have gone away. And when we subtract 4x over here, yep, that does give us 8x, so that's correct. Also, they moved the 60 over to the right side. Did they do that correct? Doesn't look like it, because plus 60, to move that to the other side, you would have had to subtract 60. And subtract 60 on both sides. So on the right side, we would have been left with a negative 60, not positive. So the mistake is in step 2. Now let's solve it. Again, change the variable to x, it already is, and then on one side, add a plus y. And this is what we graph. Now when you graph this one, you're going to see something like this. And when you click on the point to see where it intersects the x-axis, it intersects at negative 7.5, 0. So when that y that we added to our equation is 0, x is negative 7.5. So they almost got it. They just forgot the negative sign in the answer. Let's try one more. All right, let's compare one line to the next. Now I see a lot of things have changed. This 9x is still here. This is still here. But notice the 4 is now an 8. And on the left side, we don't have this 1/2 anymore. All right, so remember, to undo multiplying by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. So to undo multiplying by 1/2, I'm going to multiply by 2 over 1, or 2. Because what you end up getting, just multiply across, we get 2 over 2, which is 1. So that's what they did. They multiplied by the reciprocal on the left side. They multiply this by 2, then this cancels out. You have to multiply the right side by 2 as well. And the key is you have to multiply everything by 2. So we need to multiply this first term by 2. And we have to multiply the second term by 2. Did they do that? Well, the first term they did multiply by 2. 2 times 4 is 8. That's good. But they forgot to multiply this 9x by 2. That should be 18x. So the mistake in this case is in step 1. All right, now let's solve it. Again, change the variable to x. It's already x, so all we need to do is add a plus y to one side, and then we graph it. And for this one, when you graph it, we're going to get something like this. And we see that the point where it intersects is -22, 0. So when that y that we added to one side of our equation is 0, x is 22. So the answer is x is 22.